to her when we talk about it.
That's right.
In the front row, is it too cold on you? Are you guys okay? I don't want you to get your throat frozen. One of the things that I had written about in CCL Insight was talking about spiritual determination. And I got to looking at some people that really succeed and others that don't, where they came from the same background, they have everything going on, and I thought, what causes that to happen? And I realized it was determination. And I don't know how many of you have ever been around somebody who's truly determined to do something and you watch them, and they don't give up. It reminds me, I don't know how many of you have seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail and the Black Knight.
Yes.
You know, if you haven't, it's just one of those things that he just keeps going, and they chop up his arms, and I mean, he keeps going, and they chop up his legs, and he's still going. And we saw the play up in the city, and it was amazing how well they did that. But that determination, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get you. Most of the time, determination is positive. Sometimes it can be a little bit negative when people get determined to do something that's not that. We can get into this thing of being fanaticism. Sometimes it's determination taking to the wrong place or the wrong point. But when you think of all the people, what have they done when they were determined? And I thought of people like Steve Jobs and Marie Curie, and I thought about all of these people out there, all of the inventors. I mean, Thomas Edison, they say it took him 1,000 tries to make the incandescent light bulb. Wow. He never admitted failure. He was so determined to do that. And I don't know how many of you sense that you have a determination to do something extremely, extremely necessary in life or important in life. Look in your life and say, what am I determined to do? What am I determined to change? One of the stories I tell about myself, because it was so silly, but it was so fun at the time, I was 8 years old, and I had a piece of plywood and a tennis ball. And I could bounce that tennis ball up and down on that board. And I found that at one point, I did it 800 times in a row. And I decided I was the champion of the world. And nobody disputed that, you know. It didn't dawn on me for a long time that nobody wanted to do that, because I was so proud. I was so determined to get that ball doing that. And what happens later on, they came out with the paddle balls. I was a champ, you know. I used to go up to assemblies and do paddle balls and that, based on that determination I had to be the champion of the world with the tennis ball and a piece of plywood. But there are so many things that you can get interested in that you're determined. And think about it. When you add that spiritualness to it, it's amazing. And that's when you start looking at something you want to do, and all of a sudden you get an epiphany. How many of you ever felt that God was guiding you for something you really want to do? Whether it's music, whether it's cooking, whether it's religion, whether it's taking care of children, there's something that's guiding you, and you are so determined that you want to do it. And so what I'd like you to think about that is, when do you fall into hopelessness? When do you fall into despair because it's not working the way you want it to? And people say, well, I tried that. And I said, don't try it, do it. And they say, but you have to try. No, you have to do it. And when Sean gave that wonderful talk about dooby-dooby-doo, you do it, okay? And many, many times in the world, people say, well, one of these days, I'm going to do that. I said, do it. Oh, but I can't. It's because that sense of determination isn't there. Once you get determined about something, nothing's going to slow you down. And have you ever watched ants carrying something that's 20 times bigger than they are, but they're determined they're going to get it where they're going to go? And there goes that rubber tree plant, exactly. And so there's that sense that we have in us that we can do all of this. But then when you add that component called spirit or God or creator, it pushes you a little bit further because you feel like you've got somebody there that's helping you. And so when you think of that dream, just like we heard in the song, that pursuing that dream Christine and April are working to help bring about justice, helping bring about things in our community. They're determined to make a difference. Now, I doubt that Christine 5 years ago said, I'm going to be determined to make a difference. But things happened in her life, and that's what she's doing. She has that determination. And I know that at some point, Christine's gotten on her knees and said, God, why did you make me have to do this? Why did this come into my life? And every day, yeah. So you get that determination in your life. But what helps is when you reach out for spiritual help. And what I liked about this whole idea of determination, it's called a quality that makes you continue trying to do or achieve something that is difficult or impossible. How many people do that? When do you go out and say, I'm going to do that, even though it's difficult, I'm going to take those extra steps. I can say, hallelujah, I took a yoga class. You know, I wasn't on the floor like everybody else, but I started out, and I thought, I can do this. I'm gonna get as good as some of those people on the floor. I'm going to do yoga. And I have that sense that I'm going to be coming every week, because I put it into my determination bowl of this is what I'm going to do. Because giving up is saying, oh, well, I don't want to walk today, or I don't want to take that lesson today. And how many times do you do that once and it becomes twice, 3 times, and it becomes a week, and pretty soon it becomes a month? What happened to that determination? You gave into that part of you that says, I'm not good enough to achieve. You're all good enough to achieve anything you want to do, because determination is not giving up and it's not letting go. Determination is sometimes falling on your face and not just laying there, but getting up. When we heard David talking earlier, he didn't give up. He didn't say that part of the reason he's here was his determination, but that's a big part of moving forward. We have so many people here who have been determined to do things where it had to be just one more time. I'll just do this just one more time. All of this thing about determination came into my consciousness when I was reading about Christopher Columbus. I thought, why are we celebrating this guy? You know, and the more I read about him, the more I thought, what a jerk, you know. And then I got to the point where I think that, you know, he was honored for being a bully. He was honored for, he dropped his brothers off on Haiti in one of his trips, and they annihilated the population of the island by rape and pillage and disease and all that. And I'm like, wow, and we're honoring this guy. And he knew his brothers. That's why he really dumped them off the ship and said, I'm not taking you anymore because you're jerks. So, and he said it in Portuguese, of course, but anyway, when you think about that, we have a person that we're honoring. What are we honoring about? He was determined. He was going to find a route from Europe to Japan and the East Indies. And I went, isn't that interesting that determination gets honored quite often, even if it's not necessarily where you end up. It's the fact that you kept doing it, kind of like that Black Knight and Monty Python. So when you start thinking of that, how many people do you know that their determination got them where they wanted to go? Whether this is, like I was mentioning, somebody, you know, whether it was the determination to win an Oscar, a determination to win in the Olympics. Anybody have in mind somebody that you really honor because of their determination? Just raise your hand and tell me who they are. Eileen.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt, yes.
Billy Mills.
Who?
Billy Mills.
Or Billy Mills, yeah. How do you know him? That's
We
amazing.
met him.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh,
A
great.
few weeks ago.
Wonderful.
Wow.
That is
And his
fantastic.
wife and his daughter.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Who else has somebody that they... You want stand up and tell people who Billy Mills is. They're kind of going, who?
Billy Mills is a Native American, and he won the 10,000 meter race at the Olympics in 1960 something, and it still hasn't been beaten. And he has a foundation now called Running Strong, and he goes to people's organizations and speaks. And he spoke at this powwow, and he also has his daughter and his wife were there. His daughter's his manager, and his, the wife is the manager, and the daughter's the one that takes all the money. So we actually bought a poster from there, and it was sent to our house, and we have a frame now, but we just haven't put it in there. But he's a very dynamic speaker.
Right, yes.
We contribute to his organization, his foundation called Reign Strong every year, and he's done a lot for the Native American community and for the whole community as a whole.
Right, he's fantastic.
He's Lakota.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Donna.
Gabby Gifford, Senator Gabby Gifford.
Yes, Gabby Gifford. Talk about determination. And she's now not talking from anger, but inspiring. And boy, that's quite a switch. When if somebody shot me, I'd be so angry. And yet she's up there with determination to help me bring about change. Thank you. Anybody else have something they'd like to share? Yeah, Sean.
About Helen Keller.
Yeah, that's been in my mind, yeah.
Helen Keller. How many of you know what Helen Keller went on to do after all notoriety?
Didn't she go into the Senate, or she went into the government?
She became a socialist.
Socialist, yeah.
And she was very active, and she was taken into all of the poorest places. And she brought about a lot of changes in New York and back east. Yeah,
Well,
amazing.
I'm going to say Anne Frank, because although, her determination was to live, and she passed on a lot of courage to people through her book and through what she had to say.
And not complaining.
And not complaining.
Just saying this is what's going on, and that determination to leave behind her
The hatred.
loss.
She even purported in her books always, why is there this hatred? Why, I just want friends and love. And, from a 13-year-old girl, that
That's
was a lot of
amazing.
insight and beauty to share with the world
Thank
when
you.
she was in such a bad place.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a guy locally, and you probably haven't heard of him. His name is Kirk Vartan. Anybody know his name?
I've heard of the name, yeah.
Barrack is a kitty corner from Santana Row, where the VA thing is, and a lot of dust.
Yeah.
It's a forest area. Anyway, for 4 years, he's been trying to get that land to become an agri-hood, a local place where there can be farm stuff. And it's between the city of Santa Clara and the city of San Jose.
Yeah.
And there's so many politics, and there's so much stuff going on, and he has just continued and continued to rally for this. In the last several months, he's been rallying people in yellow shirts to show up at the Santa Clara council meetings with this thing that says agri-hood. And they actually won. They actually turned the government around.
Right.
And if you look it up, try BAREC or agri-hood Santa Clara. They're actually going to not do the destructive stuff, and they're going to do some really good things.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you for sharing with us, Chris. Yeah. Anybody else have somebody that through their sheer determination they're making a difference? Yes, Donnie.
I love Doti Dandridge.
Who, please?
Doti Dandridge,
Okay.
actress.
Yeah. Amazing. What she changed is people's viewpoint of somebody in the movies, and somebody who, she just, one of the things I love about Dorothy Dandridge, I don't know how many of you remember who she was, they wanted to put on the sienna makeup and make her, because you either had to be white or black, you couldn't be this beautiful Dorothy Dandridge, and she said no, and I'm not going to put on white makeup either. And she changed the makeup company. They had to make makeup specifically for her, and it's the first time that they were able to have makeup on the, for women that were not black or white. And she did a lot of stuff. People don't even recognize how wonderful she was. Yeah. Sherry.
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. Yeah. Determination.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Yeah, please.
This is a local person. His name is Pastor Scott Wagers. He has CHAM, which is the Christian Homeless Alliance. He is getting extra buildings and also has a motor home. He goes around, he feeds the homeless people at 1:30 in the morning out in the streets of San Jose. He's been around for many years. He also at one time when the homeless were actually protesting to get more facilities, he was out there on the steps of City Hall and got arrested with them. But he's amazing.
And that determination, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a difference. Anybody, Pat?
Doris Cordell, who's a local person, but she has done so much for so many people. I mean, she's been the police auditor. I watched her in court for many years, and she would, one person she'd be very, very giving and caring, and the next one she'd give it to them because they tried the system too much. And I just really, she's local, she's just really there if you need her, and I just really admire her.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anybody else? Yes, David.
Yeah, Doti Boon for bringing us this.
That's a lot of support. I couldn't do this by myself, trust me. Having each one of you here, that's one of the things that does it for me. So think about, why do you give up? Why don't you keep going? I was talking yesterday to April and Beck about Thanksgiving at the beach. I'd done it for 22 years, and then for 2 years I didn't do it. And now I'm back and I'm going to do it again. And what had happened is illness and family, and my mom passed away and all sorts of things. But I'm determined to do it again. And I'm kind of like, well, why? It's a lot of hard work and a lot of things. Well, if you haven't been at Thanksgiving at the beach, you just haven't done Thanksgiving. And so I'm gonna start asking for volunteers to help with that. Volunteering. People are determined to help. Not everybody says, I want to stand up and be the spokesperson or the leader. I want to help. And that determination to be in that place of helping, that is, and quite often you don't get the recognition. That's why the giving angel here is to recognize people who are going above and beyond and helping people, doing things for people, appreciating that we're all one, that we're all God's children. But when does that idea of determination hit you? I can give you some ideas and think about them. Have you ever been on a hike? About the, you did 5K or 5K. Yeah, and about the third mile you said, what?
Yeah.
What am I doing? But that determination of I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. People get that sense of determination when they're running a marathon or walking a marathon or swimming across a lake. You get really determined. I better get on the other side halfway through, right? Have you ever done something where you started it and you're going, I've got to finish this. I can't stop. You know, the one that I think most women realize is childbirth. Halfway through, you go, heck no, I'm not going to do this. I'm done. You got to get that sense of determination. I've got to get this kid. And a friend of mine said it was the first time my daddy couldn't take me off the carousel. She said, all my life, anything I didn't like, my dad would step in and save me. And when I was in labor, he said, you're on your own, kid. Yeah, there's things like that. It's that you might not want to do, but you have to have that determination, and it really helps. The other thing is being in a poor relationship. Any of you ever been in a poor relationship, but you're determined to make it work? And when do you get to that point of saying, it's not good? Because failure also is one of those things that people need to look at when they're in that determination and say, wait a minute, I don't have to do this. I can stop. Determination gets it going, but that sense of, it's okay to say I don't have to. You're not a failure. You're saying, okay, I don't have to finish this. Except maybe birth and swimming across that lake, but there are some things that you can do. And when you think about that power of motivation, to me that's a spiritual thing. That's when you put out and you say, okay, I'm here. I need to get motivation, and please God help me. I need to do this thing. It might be bouncing that ball on a piece of plywood, I'm going to do it for another 100 times. But whatever it is, because when we get to that determination going, sometimes you get your ego caught up in, I can't quit. Now that can be a positive thing or that can be a very negative thing. A very negative thing when you're letting somebody take your power away, when they're making you powerless and you still stay in a situation. How many of you have been in a job that you knew was bad for you, you knew you weren't going to get anything any further, but you were determined to make it and last? And then one day you wake up and say, I'm not going to work today. I'm sorry, that's it. Any of you ever been in that position? Yeah. And what happens? Are you a failure? No. You were determined up to the point you realized, this doesn't work for me. I don't have to keep doing it. So think of determination and giving up are two sides of the same coin. But that's giving it up because you realize it's not for your best and highest good. Now, inventors, musicians, dancers, sports people, quite often they get so caught up in what they're doing that determination drives them to the point of their ego says you can't give up. And how many of you have no friends that are musicians that are still sleeping on their mother's couch? I'm not talking about you, Sean. You can both of his eyes went up.
He sleeps on his own couch.
Yeah, he's got his own couch. Think about that. That sometimes that determination pushes you to a point where you don't know there's another route to take. Because you just are so, you're focused, and that tunnel focus just keeps pushing you. I heard somebody say, I never failed to finish a project I started.
Wow. Wow.
And I feel very guilty about it because of this. And it went on, this quote went on and said, and I feel very guilty about it because of all the time I took away from my family.
Wow.
Okay, so you see that other side of that coin. And because determination and growth come together, but that ability to know yourself also steps in very, very fast. So think of that divine presence within us, that divine presence that is there to help guide us. And you can talk about all you want about, I don't think I need any help. You do. You need to feel that you've got the angels of God on your side. If you don't, you're constantly blaming somebody. Think about it. If you say, hey, God, help me get here, God's going to help me get out of it too. You know, think of ways to put out that energy. God can help me. How many of you have measurable goals? Things you really want to do?
I do.
Yeah. Well, let's look at Mel.
Okay.
Mel is determined to not smoke.
Yay!
Now, if he was to have a cigarette, would we say, Mel, you're no good? No.
No.
Hey, Mel, be careful who you sit next to.
It's not on wheels, I can push it away.
But we love him. But we want to support him in his determination. So look for people in your life that support you in your determination and not in your failures. That's one of the things I love about AA, is being supported in your determination. Find people that are around you that can help. That sense of commitment draws us all together. I think here at CCL we have a commitment that we're going to find a way to be forgiving, kind, loving, spiritual, helpful, to the best of our capacity. Okay? And what does that say? My capacity can move as far as I want it to. I can look at it, my capacity is here. But we get to the point sometime after working for 110 hours in a week, we think maybe our capacity is a little bit overhead. Maybe I should bring it down a bit. But I'm still determined to do the work that I should. One of the things that I read when I was looking into this wonderful way that we search out things on the internet when we're going to do a service is this old story about the guy who was in the flood. I'm sure you all know this. And he kept saying, Dear God, I know you're going to save me. The water's rising, but I trust you. I believe in the glory of God, and I know you're going to save me. And his next door neighbor came and said, Hey man, I'm in my truck. Come on, I can get us out of here. Give me your hand and we'll go. The guy said, No, the power of God is going to save me. And the guy said, Hey man, You're sitting there, water's up to your waist. I think you should go with me. No, I'm fine. God's going to save me. And the water got higher, and this guy comes by in a rowboat. He says, hey, come on, perfect stranger, come on, get in the boat. I heard that the water's going to get higher and higher. The guy says, no, God's going to save me. And all of a sudden he hears this noise overhead, and he looks up, and it's a helicopter. And the water's about here. And this foghorn says, hey, come on, grab the rope, we're going to save you. No, God's going to save me. And he died. And he gets to heaven. He says, God, what happened? You didn't save me. He said, yeah, I sent you a guy in a truck, a rowboat, and a helicopter. And he said, and I decided you were determined to die. So that's what we are sometimes. We are determined because of something we believe that it has to be a certain way. And we don't say, I can give up now and I cannot get help.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Thank you, friends. I've watched people do things. I said, why didn't you ask some friends to help you? And they said, okay, remember at 4, I don't need help tying my shoes. And you go to school with your shoelaces untied. You don't need help. You can do it yourself. I'm watching this little one. He can do it himself. Don't shush him, Carolyn. He's part of my talk. Yeah, he's determined. Yeah, and whatever he does, he's looking at chemo. Whatever he does, he's determined. This is what he's going to do, and we don't want to break that spirit, but we don't want him walking up into a raging fire. So when you're raising children, you have to value their determination, but you also have to teach them that they can think outside the box. But not if it's, deciding that you want to go swimming in shark-infested waters. Because then you're going around. That's when God says, hey, I told you could go to another beach and you didn't listen to me. So think about where you are in life. What are you determined to do? Are you determined to stay where you are because you feel you have to show somebody but you're miserable? Then change it. Yes, David?
When I was a little kid, I had Hawaiian relatives.
Okay, they can't hear you. Stand up. When you were a little kid, you had Hawaiian relatives.
Okay, I have a really mixed background, but I have Hawaiian relatives. And one of my aunties there used to tell me, oh God, if you behave badly, I'm going to throw you in the ocean and you'll be shark bait. So I behaved.
Well, she was determined.
I was determined not to be shark bait.
We just didn't know we were shark bait.
So, what I want you to take away with you today is, what are you determined about? How determined are you to get to that goal you're looking for? And are you just now pounding sand and you're not moving? Find a way to move by making goals. Set your goals, but set those goals that things you can put your determination into and you can achieve. But sometimes when you set goals, you're doing it for somebody else. I don't know how many of you, your parents said, when you grow up you're going to be a doctor, or when you grow up you're going to be a lawyer, and you were determined to do that, and halfway through medical school or law school you went, I don't want to do this. But you had been so determined you got yourself in a place you felt you couldn't quit. Yeah, so think about that. You can be determined to the point you say, I don't want to do this anymore. Edison knew and wanted to develop the light bulb. Do you know and want to do something so you can be so determined it'll make it happen? And when you are, follow through. And when you need, ask for help. Yes, Jim.
It was because of Edison's determination that the movie industry is in California and not in New York.
Yes, exactly.
He invented a motion picture camera, and he was so violent in protecting his patent rights that nobody wanted to make pictures in where Edison was, so they went clear across the country to get away from him, and his lawyers, and his attack lawyers. So Hollywood is because of Thomas Edison.
Thank you.
So in the end, his determination kind of turned around.
Yes, in the end, his determination backfired on him.
And it also, when he denied Tesla the ability to work with him on alternating current, because his determination was that that wouldn't work, and he wouldn't listen. So that's when determination gets in your way, is when you don't listen to somebody else who's trying to help you. Yeah. Yes, Amy?
One of the things that kicks my determination in is the little rebel inside of me. So anytime my mother said, you can't do this, or you'll never be able to, made me even more determined to be successful at it.
Yes, yes.
To show her wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes we have that, but sometimes it works absolutely the other way.
Yeah.
I've seen kids whose parents said, you're never going to be anything, and they never were.
Right.
Because they were going to live up to their expectations, and their expectations were so low. Yes, Christine?
Actually, I got through respiratory because
Can you stand up so people can hear you?
my stepmom said, "Oh, you don't like sick people," and more or less, she kind of was very negative about that I was going to accomplish.
Respiratory school.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you
so
did it.
that did it.
You did
Yay! Anybody else have some wins that they want to talk about where they were so determined that they had it happen? David?
I became a nurseryman in this state because that's what I do. I mean, I went to school and I got horticulture and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted a job in the city and county of San Francisco, because that was where I was living, in the parks. So I can be out there, that, trimming this, cutting that, and cleaning this and that. And I went to school again, and I learned all the botanical names and the lay names of the plants that are common in California. It's like 175, I think. And I took the test, and I aced it.
Yay!
And I got the job in San Francisco, and I was so happy. It's like, most people go out and drink. I went out and I ate myself into a stupor.
I like the way you celebrate.
food truck.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Seems candy is that.
But look at that determination. And I had a woman come in and said, I said, what are you going to do the rest of, the week? And she said, I don't do anything. I'm retired. I said, you don't do anything? And she said, no. I said, do you go to church? No. Do you talk to your kids? No, they don't like me. Do you talk to your neighbors? No, they're of another culture. Well, what do you do? And she said, you can't do anything when you're 68.
You can't?
Why? Life ends, And I was like, oh my gosh. When you lose your determination to move forward, you don't have any place to go. Yeah.
No.
So, all of you, go out with determination today. Yes, Chris.
Another story?
Yeah.
So in 2000, I was determined to do the 60-mile walk.
60 miles?
Yeah. And so the walk was from De Anza College to the Marina Green, San Francisco.
Wow,
That was the
yeah.
walk. And
Was that a 3-day walk?
it was 3 days. It was
20 miles a day, yeah.
right. And so I did a lot of practice walks. And what I want to share is that there was one day that I did 18 miles as a practice. And then when I got on the 3-day walk and I hit mile 17, I started to flag. This is the actual walk. I started to flag, and I just remembered that earlier in my practice walk, I had walked 18 miles. And that recollection that I had done the 18 got me through. I caught my wind, and I just sailed right on in. It was 21 miles that day. It's probably the biggest thing I've ever done. I didn't know that I could do it.
And you were determined.
Yes, they're very determined. And for 2 days after the walk, I walked 6 miles because I had to come down.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, are you ready Yes, yay, choir.
Oh, no, this, everybody's like,
Talking